Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. What do we got today, Rick?
We got our Week 16 starts and sits.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
I'm ready.
Ready for what?
I'm ready to prep for Week 16 championship matchups. Christmas is in 2 days. I feel like I don't have any time on my hands.
Because you don't.
I feel like it's 1 day away, really. Depends on how you count. I notice everyone counts days differently. Some people include the day of, and some people don't. So if you include the day of, then you're technically 2 days away from Christmas. But if you don't include the day of, then you're 1 day away from Christmas.
Why would you count it the other way?
The first way?
Hold on, count. I want to see what you do. Count. How many days until Christmas?
We have Thursday. Depends on when you're listening to the show. We post it Wednesday at 5 a.m. So technically speaking, if you have a full Wednesday left, it would be 2. But anyway, you have Thursday, 1 day, and then Christmas. So 1 day left.
Okay, I guess when you put it like that, it makes sense. But I do it the other way.
Christmas Day?
Because it's like tomorrow is 1 day, right? So it's like Christmas Eve.
Yeah, but you're not. If you go a whole...
So it's like 2 days.
This is Wednesday.
It's still 2 days.
This is Wednesday.
I know.
Okay.
Christmas Eve and Christmas. That's 2 days.
It is, but Christmas Day is not counted because you're counting down to Christmas Day. And now all of our audience just left.
Whatever.
Well, welcome in. Whatever audience is left. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me, as always.
What's up?
I didn't say our names on the last show. I just remembered that. It helps we put it on YouTube. We put the little animations on the screen. And when I was editing last week with the little animations, I was like, wait a minute. Well, I didn't say my name, so.
Wow, I screw up.
It hurts when I don't say my name because then I'm sitting there trying to figure out where to put my name tag.
You spend
the editing.
Yeah,
I'm like,
the whole editing process.
Crap. Anyway, so it is Week 16, as we said, starts and sits. Christmas is in 1 day. We are going to have an episode on Christmas because it is the championship week.
Pre-recorded, though.
Pre-recorded. We're not going to be... I mean, we could.
I think my family would kill me.
Live stream on Christmas Day from our iPhones.
Oh, we could do that. There's a game on Christmas.
There is. I thought that was weird.
There's a game on Saturday, too.
That's not weird. That's normal.
Yeah.
So what is the game on Friday?
It is the Saints and Vikings.
Okay. Anyway, so we're going to give you our starts and sits today. Tomorrow is the Q&A show, so this is your last shot on YouTube. If you like our TikTok, you can ask questions over there. You like our Twitter, you can ask questions there as well. Anywhere. DM us, any platform, Instagram. I'll talk about where you can follow us in a second, but anywhere, please comment and leave questions for us for your Week 16 championship matchups. We will not be doing this for Week 17 because you don't get rewarded for having stupid ideas.
You had Week 15 written down, by the way. I just changed that for you.
I hope. Did you say that in the intro? Did you say the wrong thing in the intro?
I don't remember. I think I said Week 16.
That would be funny.
I think I did.
Hopefully you weren't looking at the notes. So before we jump right into our starts and sits for the week, be sure to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter at the FFChamps, on Instagram at thefantasychampions. Like us at facebook.com/thefantasychampions. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platforms, hit the subscribe button really hard. The Christmas present to us is subscribing.
That'd be a great Christmas present.
Leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, same thing. Subscribe. You know what? To be honest with you, if you're listening in any platform, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe. Go to Spotify and subscribe. Go to Stitcher and subscribe. Go to Google Play and subscribe. Go anywhere and subscribe. And then go to YouTube and subscribe there as well. If you're just listening on any platform, subscribe everywhere because it'll help us.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to us because you subscribe to us. We provide you the content. We provide you the content. That's your Christmas present.
Your Christmas present as the viewer.
And
is listening to our advice.
So
we're going to help you win your championship.
Click the bell for notifications on YouTube, like and comment down below. So let's jump right into our Week 16 starts and sits.
All right, let's do it.
I need some. I want to do those drops again before segments.
I know. I missed those.
Ago. You say years ago, but we've been around for 2 years.
The guy bailed on us when we made it.
Yeah, that's true. So let's jump right in. Quarterbacks. We'll start with the quarterbacks. Go into the running backs. Go into the wide receivers. Go into the tight ends. We have 2 weeks. Only 2 of these left to go, including this one. So it should be crazy. And then we're going to break down the entire 2020 season.
Yeah, wow.
I was going to say 2019 because
we can do our 6-month early mock draft.
Dude, we should do a mock draft in January.
That's so gross.
It would be, but it would be kind of the funnest thing I've ever done.
It would.
Anyway, so let's start with quarterbacks. Quarterback start of the week. We talked about him on your waiver wire show. There's only one guy that I think is worth consideration in the start role, and it's Jalen Hurts. 40 points this past week.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to take a lot of time talking about it, but 40 points this past week against who did they play?
The Cardinals.
The Cardinals, thank you. And the Cardinals' defense has been pretty good this year. So it wasn't like he was going off against a really terrible pass defense. Like their pass defense has actually been relatively good. But as far as Jalen Hurts is concerned, he not only had a big week last week getting 40 points, he doesn't just have that rushing floor, which of course he does, but he's also playing the Dallas Cowboys. Right. The Dallas Cowboys have given up, I think, the fourth or fifth. Actually, they've only given up 21 fantasy points per game. They're in the top 10 worst matchups, or easiest matchups for quarterbacks. So
yep.
I feel it's safe to say that Jalen Hurts is going to come into this game and have a really stellar week. And this is a pretty safe bet. If you told me that Jalen Hurts could possibly be a league winner, I wouldn't have believed you. But week 15, what is it? Week 14, 20 points. Week 15, 40 points. And we still don't know, or 37, I should say. And then we still don't know what happened in week 16. If he gets over 30 points again, I mean, that is league winner status right there.
For sure. I mean, what he did this week against Arizona, I mean, we talked about it on our podcast on Monday or Tuesday, or I should say, of how good he really was his past 2 weeks. His rushing floor is the most important thing. And again, I talked about this on Tuesday, but guys that run are so good in fantasy. They really are for the quarterback position because they have that floor. You look at Josh Allen, you look at Lamar Jackson, even Herbert in the beginning of the season. One of the reasons why he popped was his rushing floor because he was throwing the ball over the field, but he was also rushing. And that's what Jalen Hurts did this past week.
Right.
He threw for 338 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, those are great numbers right there. But then you also add the 63 rushing yards and a touchdown. Like
that's... Yeah,
we're talking about a legit QB1 at this point. And against the Dallas Cowboys, who have one of the worst secondaries in football, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 30 again this week. I really wouldn't.
Yeah.
I love Jalen Hurts this week, and we did kind of. I don't think we laughed, but we're like, nah, Jalen Hurts league winner, what? But here we are. I think he's a league winner.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move into our quarterback sit of the week, which would be Big Ben against Indianapolis. Big Ben has been pretty good this year.
He's been better than what I thought he'd be.
Top 10 quarterback, maybe top 12. He's actually QB 14. So a couple weeks ago when I looked, he was top 12, I believe. But so he's had some good weeks, but in tough matchups, I think that's where you kind of want to look, and it's been an up and down roller coaster.
Yeah.
Where if he has a green matchup or a easy matchup, it's usually a little bit better. But I think for me against Cincinnati, Indianapolis, it's an extremely hard matchup for him.
Yeah.
And I think that like the Steelers too, have they lost 2 straight?
We don't know.
No, because they lost a couple weeks ago.
They do play on Monday.
I know they play on Monday, which is, like I said, pre-recorded, but they lost
before that.
Yes,
they did lose 2 in a row. Yeah,
so they might have lost another one.
They're not going to lose.
They're not going to lose.
If they lost to the Bengals, then I'm shifting my head.
Whatever. But they're playing against a very tough pass defense in the Indianapolis Colts. They actually give up, I think, the least amount of fantasy points to the quarterback position.
Could you check that? Yeah. They've gone way up.
I guess so.
18 points a game.
So 18 points a game. So if you're in your fantasy championship game and Ben Roethlisberger is out there and he gets 15 points, I mean, that's going to be a tough afternoon. So I would sit him.
And there's still a dark red matchup on Sleeper, meaning they still are not good against quarterbacks. That number has gone
worst
up.
Is usually bottom 8.
Yeah.
Or I don't even know how to say it. A top 8.
I think you're right.
Difficult matchup for a quarterback.
Bottom 8, I think. I guess. I don't know.
I will never get that right. I honest to God will never get it right.
But yeah, no, it is a hard matchup. That number has gone up for the Colts because they played Deshaun Watson twice in a row, and Watson I think got like 20 points in 1 week. So he's at least been decent.
He's so random.
Hasn't been great against the Colts, but nobody's been great against the Colts is the thing. And Ben Roethlisberger, he's had some good games, but like look at the games that he did well in. Like he torched Dallas.
Yeah.
He torched Cincinnati.
Right.
He did decent against Philly and the Giants. He did decent against Houston. Like, but then you put him against Baltimore, 14 points. You put him against Baltimore again, 13 points. You put him against Washington, he actually did decent, 19. Buffalo, 15. Against a team like the Colts, this is the hardest matchup he has faced all season. They're gonna throw the ball a lot, but it doesn't necessarily equate to fantasy points.
Yeah.
I think he'll probably end up getting like 14, 15 points.
Agreed.
And you're going to see Ben Roethlisberger. I'm guessing he had a good week against the Bengals because last time he played the Bengals, he had 29. So I'm guessing he had a very good week.
Yeah.
And you might see that and go, ooh, Ben Roethlisberger. I'm putting him in my lineup. Don't do it.
You might get really sweaty and excited.
Yep.
It's probably not for the best. Let's move to running backs. J.K. Dobbins versus the New York Giants as a start. He hasn't been elite. Like when we first saw him come in and get the full-time work, there was expectation and excitement that he was going to be a big-time future running back. I think that first week where he got the majority of the load was against Tennessee. He had 17 points, 15 rushes for 70 yards. Since then, he's been getting right around, I want to say, 12 to 15 touches on the ground per game.
Yeah.
But he's lost all of his target share through the air, which is not unsurprising. The Ravens do not like to throw it to the running back position.
Yeah, the only games they throw it to the running back position is when they're losing. And even then, he still only gets like 2-3 targets.
But in the last couple of weeks, he had 13 against Dallas, Cleveland, and Jacksonville. He had 13, 13, and 14. So he's actually been really good. He's been getting the touchdown share. And the other thing is that I believe Sunday, Mark Ingram was a healthy scratch.
He was, yes.
So he with him out of the game, Gus Edwards not really getting the work that you anticipated. It's still kind of an RBBC. Sort of.
It is a little bit.
But J.K. Dobbins is getting goal line work. And that was not the case a couple weeks ago with Gus Edwards. So I feel like at this point, you're going to see Dobbins come in, and he against the Giants will probably have a good game efficiency-wise, and he might pop it in for a touchdown. The only thing I'm concerned about is his lack of involvement in the passing game, because it went from like 2-3 targets a game to 0. So he's had since he's been getting that full-time work, or over the last 3 games that I've talked about, he has 1 target, which is not great.
That's not great. And Gus Edwards had 2. So that's the problem with Baltimore, though. Like, we thought J.K. Dobbins was going to get the workload when they said he was like the starter. Yeah. And he still has gotten the majority of the work, but he's getting he's pretty much still splitting with Gus. 54% snap percentage versus 40, and then 14 carries versus 9. So it's not like Dobbins is out here getting 20 touches a game. If he was, he probably wouldn't even be on this list because you would know you have to start J.K. Dobbins, right?
Right.
But I would still start him. He played good against Jacksonville at 13 points. Yeah. And even against Cleveland in a bad matchup, he got 12. And then the week before that, he got 13. So he's been still about consistently getting 13 points a week. Against the Giants, I think he continues that with upside to do more if they get him involved in the passing game a little bit. Especially if Mark Ingram is a healthy scratch again. If that happens, I'm very confident starting J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to look over his numbers at the end of the season, because since the bye week in week 8, he's like 12, 4, 1, 17, 13, 11, 14, just to see what the totals were, what the pacing is. And we'll probably talk about Dobbins all offseason, because he's probably going to be one of the easier 4th, 5th round grabs.
Oh, 100. Because if he's in the 5th round,
Taylor and Clyde are probably going to go way too early for
Gibson too.
Gibson might even be top 5.
I think he would have been if he didn't get injured.
Yeah, that's true. Ooh,
I think that saved you.
Yeah, a little bit. So let's talk about the sit of the week. This one's a little bit tougher because of the situation with
Clyde, right?
With Clyde, he honestly, it looked like he tore his ACL. Not in the game film, but the way he was reacting, it looked like his ACL was ripped in half. And even they were helping him off the field, and he couldn't put weight on his foot, and X-rays came back negative, and we'll talk about this on the injury show on Friday, but he is he's okay, and he'll probably play in the postseason is what the expectation is. But with that being said, the last week of your fantasy season, you do not have Clyde. Le'Veon Bell, Rick mentioned as an option for the waiver wire if he's available.
Yep.
But Bell...
On the waiver wire show.
Bell would be a sit this week for me. I don't know if Rick disagrees or agrees with me, but I think when you look at how Atlanta has been against the rush this year, it's not good and it's not bad. So it's kind of in the middle. And when you look at so far this year,
that isn't updated though.
This is not updated, but according to
going into last week,
but according to what we had before this week, I'm gonna say that they're like top 8 tough matchup. When it comes to the running back position, and the reason why that's the case is because no one really wants to rush the ball against the Atlanta Falcons. A, because they score a lot of points, but B, their secondary is so porous and horrible that you really don't need to run the football.
Right. Teams typically have more success throwing than running.
According to the numbers that we have right now, Atlanta has 16.5 fantasy points a game given up to the running back position. Le'Veon Bell is going to take the lion's share of the work.
Yes.
But Clyde hasn't even been that great with the lion's share of the work this year. He's been good, but he hasn't been like top 5 running back.
No.
You know, what the expectation was.
I don't think Clyde has unfortunately though, I don't think he's like he had like opening night, he had 20 carries.
Right.
Did he get 20 carries at all?
I don't think so.
After that? I think that was the only game.
I think you could argue because the Chiefs play style last year and this year was supposed to be they like to control the clock a little bit more because that was
they've just given up on that.
They've given up on that, and they don't run the football at all.
They just chuck it down the field.
Game. But so I don't think Bell's going to get a lot of work on the ground. I think it would be between 12 to 15 carries at most. And I think he'll get involved in the passing game, probably 4 to 5 catches.
He only had 1 catch this week.
You see, this is what I'm talking about. It's just I don't know if Le'Veon Bell is.
I think Bell will be all right, and that's why I brought him up on the waiver wire show, because I think if you're in desperate need for a running back, he's a decent start. But in a situation like this where we're doing starts and sits, and I wouldn't put Le'Veon Bell on the start list. I'd definitely put him on the sit list because all the reasons you said. Atlanta, that number isn't as bad as it was. I think they ranked like 9 or 10 now against running backs, but still not not good, or bottom 9, 10. Again, I don't know how to say it like you. But it's just not a great situation. Yeah. And with the amount that the Chiefs throw the ball, they're going to throw it all over the field. My only thing is if they're up big against Atlanta, they might run the ball in the second half. And that's why I think he's going to have a good floor. But Le'Veon Bell's ceiling, like, he's not going to win you a championship, is the way I'll put it.
No.
Like, I think I don't see Le'Veon Bell getting like 25 points.
Even when he had the opportunity with Kansas City, he sucked. So
well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, you look at it. Any game this year where he's gotten a lot of carries, he hasn't really been that great. This was his best week of the season, and 14 points is really solid. But I don't know if he repeats that again this week.
Yeah, I don't know if we convinced you at all, but it's.
I just think like the amount of running backs that are out there, right? There's like we'll see in my rankings what I'll end up putting him at, but I think like if I had to guess right now, there's still at least a solid like 15, 20 running backs I'd rather play over Bell.
Not that for me.
This you already did it?
No, I would say probably like 20.
Oh, just like off the top of your head. Off the top of my head. Yeah, he'll probably be a little bit higher for me, but not any higher than like 19, 20. Yeah, he's gonna be like in that range. So there's just guys out there that are better starts than Le'Veon Bell. If you're in desperate need for a running back, he's not a bad play. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Okay, wide receiver start of the week. I'm going to say Rams wide receivers because...
yeah, you can say Rams wide receivers.
Rick put Bob Woods. I originally had T.Y. Hilton against Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh usually was tough, but they've kind of gone mediocre, and they're kind of soft.
He's not awful. He's been really good.
Yeah, but it's not enough to say, like, definitely want to start him. Right. So, anyway, Robert Woods obviously is going to start in your matchups. He has... What is he, the QB 10? I mean, wide receiver 10 right now?
Yeah, wide receiver 10.
So... He's obviously probably going to start for you regardless if he's been in that role all season. But I think the one guy that has been a little bit more concerning is Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
And I would say
Kupp has been up and down all year.
Kupp is a good start this week as well against against Seattle, because Seattle we've talked about all season.
Now, so Cup,
we'll talk about it one more
Cup
week.
ruined me in the staff league this week. I trusted him over Juju.
Yeah.
So saying that helps me a little bit.
Good. Seattle gives up 28 fantasy points a game to the wide receiver position.
Ridiculous.
So it is ridiculous. It's between 28 and 30. And
that number, they didn't even give up a lot against Washington this past week.
So I feel like Seattle though is gonna be an easy matchup for Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, and I think that it will probably. Usually when the Rams have a horrible day against a terrible team, they usually bounce back.
I was going to say that's a very good point, because that's what I was going to bring up. Like,
I hate to put my fantasy championship on hope that he bounces back, but it's just like that's the trend with
he played
Rams.
Well anyway, the team didn't. But typically the Rams lose bad games. But
you mean Bob Woods played well?
Yeah, Bob Woods played well. Woods.
Cooper Kupp didn't.
But usually when the Rams play bad,
I said Cooper Kupps, like multiple, pluralized.
You know the memes that you could create from that, like Cooper Kupps, and then a bunch of cups with like his face on it. Anyway, but yeah, what I was gonna say is the Rams typically when they have a bad game, they bounce back in a big way. Mm-hmm. They're gonna really need this game. Like I think there was a chance against the Jets. They're kind of like, we're gonna beat the Jets, we don't care, and then they got caught.
Right, they need this game now
against the Seattle Seahawks. This is a playoff game for them. This is a huge game. This is for the division. So I think Robert Woods is going to play well. I think the Rams offense is going to bounce back. So you could start Cooper Kupp, you can start Robert Woods, and be confident about it against a very poor Seattle secondary.
Now, I will say the Los Angeles Rams are the best. They might be the best Hard Knocks team of all time.
I know. Well, we'll see how the rest of the season plays out.
They were forced to do it. They were going to do the Raiders.
Because if they lose
the Raiders are rivaling them too. They didn't do the Raiders. They did the
Chargers.
Yeah, they do only LA teams because of COVID. So
I mean, they could still lose out and go 9-7.
Yeah, that's true.
They play Seattle and Arizona, so we'll see.
Yeah, big game for them. I think Bob was going to be good. Really quickly on the Chark bit, we have Chark on our sit list. Versus Chicago. I think it's pretty self-explanatory at this point. I want to say it because Chark was a lot of people's wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 flex plays at the beginning of the year.
Had a good start to the year.
If you made it this far into the fantasy championship, and Gardner Minshew is back, that is why Gardner Minshew had good early season production. That's why Chark had good early season production because of Gardner Minshew. But now with Minshew back, you might be tempted to be like, okay, I'm gonna put him in the game. But against tough matchups this year, he's only had one game against a tough matchup that has had where he's had a lot of success, and that was against Cincinnati in Week 4, 25 fantasy points. The rest of the time, he's been very, very bad against hard matchups. And Cincinnati,
honestly,
Chicago. I said Cincinnati. That is the right matchup where I said he went off. But against Chicago has been a tough matchup all year. So I think for me, Chark is a sit. Even if you have him in a flex, there are options on the waiver wire. There are other guys that you can go to instead of just putting your faith in DJ Chark to start and to win.
Right.
So I think that you should bench him this week. Sit him.
Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely this one's not like I think a lot of people are benching him, but there are people like I know in one league. He's kind of riding the DJ Chark train because Gardner's back, but just don't do it.
He's starting right now in 50% of leagues,
which is what do you? That doesn't make any sense to me. He's had really, if you take out his 24-point game against Houston and his 25-point game against Cincinnati, he has been awful the entire season. If you take out those two games, he had 10, 10, 3, 8, 3, 7, 6, 5, 2, 7.
Wow,
that's disgusting. And I think he'll be. I mean, hey, if the Jaguars take Trevor Lawrence, watch out next year.
Yeah.
But for this season and this week in particular, it's just a no-go for DJ Chark.
Yeah. So let's move to we're going to talk about tight ends really quick because we don't have a lot of time.
All right, let's do it.
As always. But the tight end start of the week is Robert Tonyan versus Tennessee. Tennessee gives up a lot of fantasy points to the tight end position. Just going over from week 11 to 15, he has 11, 15, 11, 12, and 9 tight end position. That's stellar. You have to start the tight end 3 on the season. Like no choice. Do not ask any questions.
I know it's because of the name.
Tonyan.
It's the name.
Robert Tonyan starting this week. Robert Tonyan should be in your starting lineup this week. If he doesn't have a good game, at this point, I consider him a stud in your fantasy season. You need to have him in your lineup. There's no question about it. Fantasy championship, saddle him up. Who's the sit of the week this week?
You know what's funny? I had Robert Tonyan in the home league.
Okay.
And I tried to trade him when he was doing so good. Nobody wanted him. Yeah. And everybody said he's a bum. So I just dropped him, and then somebody picked him up. And he's like, why'd you drop him? I'm like, I would have taken waiver budget money from him. I just wanted the roster space.
Who's the sit of the week?
We got Jonnu at tight end. He really hasn't been great all season, to be honest.
The Jonnu people are still holding on.
They are. Well, because he had a great start, but A.J. Brown was also out. Corey Davis missed some games.
Right.
And then once Corey Davis or A.J. Brown came back, Jonnu really has not been good.
Yeah, they're not a high volume team.
They're not. And when they do throw the ball, they throw it to two people. It's Corey Davis and it's A.J. Brown. They really don't throw to a lot of other people. Jonnu has been on a streak of poor games. 1, 3, 10, 8, 10, which isn't bad. And then didn't play. Had 0 in a game that he did play. 74% snap percentage. He had 0 points.
I started him in a league in that league.
And then the last 2 weeks against Jacksonville, great matchup. People wanted to start him. People did start him. He had 3 fantasy points. Against Detroit, 7 fantasy points. That's not bad. People are going to want to start him again this week because he had 7 points. Don't do it. It's against Green Bay, a team that is great against defenses. Right. And at this point, the Jonnu people need to relax and start Robert Tonyan.
Well, there you have it. Week 16 starts and sits in the bag. In the biggity bag.
In the bag. This is championship week, dude.
Championship week. If you have any questions for us, tomorrow is the Q&A show, so drop them in the comments. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We'll talk to you on Thursday, my friends.
Later.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.